I'm Chris from Play Comics, a show where we look at video games based on comic properties and how well they stick to that source material, a part of the GonnaGeek network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other astonishingly geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
Welcome to episode 51 of Better Podcasting Live Chat. I am Steven, and I'm pleased to say that SP is here today.
Steve is always so energetic. It makes it really fun to come into Area 51. I mean, Better Podcasting Live Chat number 51 every week.
Oh, almost slipped up there, hey?
Can't say anything about that.
Oh, we're here with another episode of Better Podcasting Live Chat, which, by the way, if you didn't know this is our podcast where we go and we muse about podcasting for a little while. This is the companion to the Better Podcasting main show, as well as, I guess, the companion to the Better Podcasting Chats with SP, which you can find both of those over at betterpodcasting.com. We are in between seasons right now on the main show, so if you want to go check all of that back catalog, you can at betterpodcasting.com.
Yeah, I've got a episode that I'm hoping to publish tomorrow on Better Podcasting Chats with SP with Matt Jermoshevich, I believe is how you say his last name. He's a Russian lit or a Tolstoy podcaster, and it was a lot of fun over there. But we talk podcasting over there. We talk podcasting over here. I just like talking about podcasting, and there's a ton of stuff to talk about podcasting. Steven, you tripped over one of the main news stories for this week, and that would be the Apple Podcast subcategories.
Yeah, that's exciting. It's nice to see them making some changes with the subcategories. They actually have gone and added to the, I think it's the Apple Podcast app, basically. Well, I must be in the whole Apple Podcast directory as well, but they have added the following categories: mental health, relationships, self-improvement, personal journals, entrepreneurship, documentary, parenting, books, language learning, and SP love. All of those are now categories on there.
I was wondering where the Better Podcasting subcategory is.
It's the SP love category. That's the one.
Oh, no, that's me. That's just about me. There should be a separate category for us in there.
Well, we could maybe make one ourselves somehow. I don't know how that would work, but we could just start maybe typing it into some freeform box. Is that possible?
Yeah, there's plenty of boxes in ID3 tags that we could throw that in, and maybe someday Apple Podcasts will get smart and they will pick up a how-to podcast tag because I think it's needed.
Yeah, that it's interesting that's not there, but also I'm curious what made them decide these are the ones they wanted to add, and sort of what it's going to look like going forward as far as adding other categories go, because they've been very stale with the categories for a long time. So this is why I'm actually interested in this, that they're adding new tags. Maybe there are going to be more to come, and I think that would be good because there's a lot of different categories in podcasting. The only thing, of course, ends up being a little bit challenging is when you don't fall into one specific category clearly, and you're like, well, it could be this one, it could be that one. How do you choose? And now that almost divides up some of those content for, like, the how to podcast ones. Where would we go? Is it self-improvement? Is it books? Is it entrepreneurship?
I believe there's two tags in there, one for education and one for tech. And they're different ones, but I think most of the how-to podcasts are in one of those two. If you're looking for where you think your podcast should be, take a look at 10 or 15 or 20 shows that are kind of like yours that are out there. And believe me, you're probably not that unique. There's probably 10 to 20 shows like yours out there. See what categories they're in, and then see which ones would fit best for you out of those. Now, on some media hosts, you can choose up to 3. Apple Podcasts really just takes the first one. So the first one matters.
Is that like on this show, the first one to speak matters?
Are you saying that you start every show, so all that matters is you?
I was just about to try to pull you into that so then I could say, haha, but our pre-roll actually beats us both. Our pre-roll's all that matters.
So now I'm only going to hear Steven pre-rolls on our show.
Fair enough. Hey, by the way, can I just confess here to some slacking on my podcasting over the last little bit?
Please do, because I like hearing somebody else being lazy.
Yeah. So the GonnaGeek show, we're a monthly show. We recorded last Monday, which was Monday the 12th, and I still haven't put the episode out. And I feel terrible because the month prior, I had it out like the next day. I think I had it out by Tuesday end of day. So I've been procrastinating. I've been procrastinating. There's the word. Been procrastinating on or is it procrastinating on the
Oh, don't tempt them. They're gonna now make some piece of gear that's road procrastinating now.
No, but I've been I can't even say it now. Now I'm all confused in my mind, but been dragging my heels here on that, and I need to get that out. I've been a little bit tied up the last couple days, but I keep thinking like, Steven, you got to get that out. It's so easy. It's a relatively easy show to edit. And then the other thing that I've been dragging my heels on is getting the Mixcast 4 set up again. I know I've said that for like a month now, maybe longer. I got to get that done. I got to get the Rodecaster Pro 1 out, get the Mixcast 4 back in, and start tinkering with it now that I've been direct into the Rodecaster Pro for a while. Direct-ish.
I'm looking forward to you switching mixers and then doing more of a comparison between the two and see which ones you like. I don't think I could deal with either because of the polywave. The polywave is, out of the two, is probably the biggest thing that just drive me nuts.
Yeah.
I hate that polywave thing. But aside from that, they're two serviceable mixers even today. And if you can't get the Rodecaster Pro 2 or the Mackie DLZ 3 because of cost or because it's gigantic on your desk, the Mackie, not the Rodecaster Pro 2, go for it. They're still venerable, and you could probably pick up some used ones, some used Rodecaster Pros out there because you can't get new ones anymore. You could probably pick up some used ones for a fair price.
Yeah, I would imagine. I don't know. I haven't looked at the used market for a while, but I except for my Zoom H6, which, by the way, I sold that. Hey, did I tell you that yet?
No, you didn't. That's great. That was fun. Then that you got to, I sold an H6, then you sold an H6. So now we're H6 list, except for I have another one.
Oh, well, you have another. I didn't know you had two H6s. Oh,
Yeah,
I did know that, actually. I did know you had two. Yeah.
And then I got the H8. So actually what I'll probably do is I'll probably get rid of the second H6. That's one of the next pieces of gear to go because I don't need it. I keep the capsules because I think the capsules are compatible with the H8, but I don't need another H6. Just use the H8.
You love the H8. That's your favorite device ever.
The H8. Yeah. I said good for what it is. It was advertised to be something it wasn't. And it took me going and contacting Zoom directly for them telling me, no, you can't use it as an audio interface and record at the same time. What confused me is the fact that it has a podcasting mode. I was thinking, oh, podcasting mode, you're definitely going to allow use of recording as it's an audio interface at the same time. Nope. And they said they had no plans whatsoever to bring that in. So I spent a lot of money. I would have spent the money on a Mixcast 4 or a Rodecaster Pro OG over that H8 if I had known that.
We got in our chat Johnny Pennington saying I'm going to use my H6 for recording and sound effects, and that's because he's got set up for his studio the L8, I believe it is. But I decided to get rid of the H6 because the only reason I use it is like field, and I have the P4 there, so I'm just going to use that.
And he's saying, do you need it for the extra 2 XLR ends? One of the reasons that I got
that was, by the way, that was Liberty Dude said, does
Liberty
SJ need the extra 2 XLR in, or is the Rodecaster Pro Duo on the radar? That was what Liberty Dude was asking.
So the H6 for me was necessary for when I went on the road and recorded multiple people that got together. We did that in Las Vegas once. I've done it on numerous panels at conventions. I used that H6 for various different things, and it was more than 2 XLR ins. So I could not use the Duo in this case. That is an additional question. I couldn't use the Duo for that, and I don't want to bring my Rodecaster Pro 2 out there. So my choices are using the Zoom P4 or using the Zoom H8. And if I have more than 4 people, which is why I had the H6, then that's where the H8 would come in.
As far as the question goes for me, for the Duo, at the moment, I don't really need many XLR inputs. I really am only using one unless I am doing a dual mic episode or something like that. So for me, the Duo could work. It'd have to be a really good deal though, because when you're up in that price range, like it's hard to justify not spending the extra money to go up to the Rodecaster Pro 2. There's not a huge difference. If we start to see some big sale prices that makes that gap a lot larger or widens the gap, then yeah, I probably would consider going with the Duo. I don't see why I would need beyond that, unless I was going to be doing something with the kids, but you know, they're already like 30, 40 years old. Time's just gone like that, right?
Yeah. So the thing that's keeping me from the Duo is the sound pads, because I feel limited with the sound pads the way they are with the 8 active, and then you can page through, but it's the 8 active. And if you're actively streaming, looking down on your device, in this case, the Rodecaster Pro 2 or the Duo, if you have it, and then paging through the soundboards or the sound pads to get to the one that you want. No, thank you. And the thing is, you don't see it on the sound pad itself. You see it on the side of the display, which is kind of small for the Rodecaster Pro 2. That was one thing that I was like, oh, DLZ3. I kind of like that big 10-inch screen. I don't like it on my desk, but I like the bigger screen. So with the Duo only having 6 sound pads, it's too small for me. I need at least 8 for a show, if not more. So yeah, the Duo, I could almost use it the way I podcast most of the time, but the sound pads just like, and it is very expensive for what it is.
Yeah. Sound pads wise, I personally don't need any. I actually can't stand the sound pads compared to using my Stream Deck the way that I stream, because I'm, you know, for me, it's easier with the Stream Deck since I'm pushing a button to switch the scene anyways, to have it go through an external sound card from my computer in. So I did the sound pads for a little bit. I've fallen back to it a couple times just where I've been having some issues, but I find it after using the Stream Deck in my workflow, I personally don't, but I know that I'm also, you know, on the outside of this situation.
I don't use a Stream Deck, but I know everybody that does just loves it. So go with, if that's what works in your workflow, go with it. One thing that the sound pads would be beneficial is if you took it to a live setting and you were podcasting at like a convention or a hotel room or whatever, where you didn't have a lot of gear, but you could use those sound pads. But that's like a one-off for anybody. It's not any continual thing. And Johnny Pennington in the chat brings up Backpack Studio, and he says it looks like a good option for sound pads. I actually have that. I have it hooked into my computer or into my Rodecaster Pro 2. The Rodecaster Pro 2 has a gain issue for line input, at least for the iPad mini that I have. I haven't really tried it with too many other line devices in. So ultimately, I decided to go with the sound pads, even though it's inferior to me, because I do love the way that Backpack Studio works. I love the bigger screen that I can put on an iPad, and I love the multiple different screens that you could go to that have like 28 different selectable sound pads, and you can read them a lot better. So yeah, I do like it, but it doesn't work in my audio workflow. It works in my producer workflow. It doesn't work in my audio workflow.
Yeah, and you know, you bring up a good point there, in the way that you've got a device and you can go somewhere and it's an all-in-one device, and that doesn't change when you're at home either. You know, if you are able to have one device doing both the sound pads and the recording, you know, that's pretty beneficial, as opposed to having to have a separate phone or a separate tablet with a separate app that you're managing. So yeah, no, I think there's a lot to think about in there, and every person's different. Everyone is different, and some people would rather have, you know, it split out. So personally, though, I think that in any case, the Rodecaster Pro or the Rodecaster Pro 2 or any of these, you know, Mixcast 4s, it's just still amazing to think back to where we were like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even.
I know I've mentioned it before. The equipment evolution has been dramatic and it has been outstanding. I can't even imagine going back to when I started podcasting in 2010. I think you were 2008. Can't imagine going back then and trying to do the same stuff that we're doing. The digital software, the services aren't
Hmm.
available, and the hardware definitely wasn't available. Let me ask you this though.
All right,
We're
ask.
we're both selling gear. How was your experience selling your H6? Was it like pulling teeth, pulling hair, or is it just it's just life on the internet these days?
Well, I ended up selling mine online, and scams galore. That's the biggest thing there. Like everything was fine otherwise, but I had a couple different similar scam emails come through, and your flags go up right away, and you're just like you throw them a little information, but with a little bit of bait questions to verify it, and you're very quickly like, yeah, that's a scam. And then you just ignore it. But I was lucky though. Someone did want to buy it, and actually, I ended up listing my H6 independently of the capsule. And then when they were interested, I asked them if I said I had the capsule, I'll sell it to you as well. And yeah, they went with that as well. And then so I got lucky on that case. I'm very afraid of eBay. I have to be honest.
It so eBay changed just in this year where it's mandatory that in the United States at least that you have to enter it into the international market. And they say, "Oh, it's good for you because you're opening it up to more people that might want to buy your junk." Really, it's what it is, your junk. And and you're opening it up to more people that wants to buy it, and we've set up the central hub that you can send stuff to in order that you don't have to mess with shipping it overseas, whatever. I'm still worried that they'll claim it didn't get there, or they'll claim that it didn't arrive, like it was theft out of the box or something
Yeah.
like that, or it got damaged in shipping. I have refused to do international sales because of that, because of on eBay, because of those issues that I've heard of. I've never experienced them, but I've heard enough horror stories. I'm like, no, I just don't want to deal with it. I will send it internally into the United States. And now they're forcing that here. There's no way to turn it off. They have FAQs and they say, just go here, and there should be an option to select where it's going. There is no option anymore. You can get to that page and you cannot deselect different areas or select the specific areas that you want it, like the markets, or I forget what they call it. And that has me worried for the stuff that is listed now, because I'm pretty sure they'll be scammed. And when you enter into that and you get scammed, you don't get the money. You
Right.
lose the thing. You can't sell it anymore because they probably have it and you can't sell it. And then you don't get the money because eBay either keeps it or refunds it to the seller or the buyer. And I'm not looking forward to that.
Yeah.
But as far as the other scams go on other social media, yeah, it is amazing. I don't even know. Some of them aren't even scams. They're just trying to keep you from selling it to somebody that might actually want it. And it's like, why are you even, I don't get it. Why are you even doing this? It doesn't make any sense unless your purpose is to sow mayhem into the lives of the people are trying to sell.
So in our live chat, we have a couple things coming up about scams. We got Johnny Pennington saying, "What are some of the scam red flags?" And we got Liberty Dude saying, "Have you tried Facebook Marketplace and similar and done live meetup sales?" Okay, I extrapolated that one to scams because I wanted to say Marketplace. Yeah, I have had stuff listed on there. Definitely occasional scam messages come through on that. Johnny, as far as scams go, my biggest experience is very quick offers to purchase that happen multiple times. They're just like, "Hey, I'll buy it this right away," or they'll start to fish for putting a certain amount of money down right away or something like that. And this is what happened to me is I actually had a couple back to back where someone was saying, "Okay, go ahead, or I'll get this for you for you this Thursday. I want to put down a deposit. Tell me how much, and I'll send it right away." Basically, and they actually also said, "Can you remove the listing?" Which was weird to me. But
Oh, yeah.
my understanding, because I never actually went through with it, but I actually saw some other people talk about this, and what they end up doing is sending you a phishing link. So it's like they're going to say, well, okay, I'll give you your whatever you ask. So you're like, okay, I want $150 deposit, and they'll be like, okay, here you go, I'm sending it to you, and then you get a fake up here we have e-transfer, or there's different services down there. So they would end up sending you a fake money transfer thing, and idea being you click on it, now you're being fished to enter your information in for your banking, and now it's a whole other cybersecurity issue. That's one of the scams that have come up. And honestly, I just, if someone's offering me money very quick after posting, my flag is up immediately.
The other place that I know that you can sell your gear is like on Sweetwater, and I think even maybe Canadians can do it. You can go to Sweetwater and you can sell the gear, and then you can opt to get paid in Sweetwater bucks or whatever they call it, and that's full price. Or you can take cash and they take a percentage off of it. So if you're going to reinvest it in gear anyway, it might be worth it if you're in the United States, for sure. I don't know about anywhere else, but it's just another option that it's a lot safer because nobody's going to scam Sweetwater. And if they do, Sweetwater has a bigger problem than
Yeah.
just your item.
All right. Well, you actually brought up something here, or had something you wanted to bring up, which was all about the Patreon video hosting. What's that about?
Yeah, apparently they announced it about a week ago. I think it was Thursday, the day after we recorded, and they are now capable of hosting video. I'm not super excited about this on the surface. So they're saying through 2023 it's free, and if you are a basic person, you can get 100 hours of video, and if you're on one of the premium or pro plans, you can get up to 500 hours of video hosting. So they're definitely looking into that video hosting cost, which to me in this day and age, I'm scratching my head over that because hosting costs are not that big. I would worry about throughput, and they have a lot of throughput already in Patreon. But what really caught my attention here is the reason that they're doing it is they're probably trying to be a more direct competitor to YouTube and their memberships. So a lot of people stick to YouTube on their memberships versus going into Patreon because that you can hide videos and you can select videos to your different tiers of members, I believe. And Patreon hasn't had that opportunity until now. I think it's a little short-sighted limiting the total hours of video hosting. They said it should be fine. Well, Steven, you and I, we've been podcasting enough. I ran into this issue years ago with Spreaker, right? They said 500 hours for your account in Spreaker. You can have as many RSS feeds as you want, but you're limited to 500 hours. And after a couple years with 4 or 5 shows going, I actually maxed that out. So I know there's creators out there on Patreon that are churning out content that they're going to max this out real quick. So limiting it to that little has an issue with me. Also, I have no idea how they're going to increase the pricing plans for 2024. They said that they would, but I don't know how much that's going to cost them. So good on them for providing a competitor to YouTube memberships. But I think they're just... I don't know. Maybe video is that hard and Google's or Alphabet is able to do it on YouTube because they're supplementing that through their data sales that they do on the back end.
I am a little confused about this, I have to say, because there has been video on Patreon for a long time. For example, I'm subscribed to the Delta Flyers. They have video components all the time. Is this like, what is this?
Their video are YouTube embedded?
No,
videos.
They're not embed videos. No, they're not. They're in a crappy player because I hate the player. It's an actual embedded video in the stream, and it's locked. So that's what
I didn't know you were a subscriber to that. That's pretty cool.
I am, yeah. Well, as of I don't know, a couple months ago I started, but I know like you can go back to the old posts from forever ago, and that's why I'm confused about it. And I know when they first launched it, that was the big thing that they had, become a Patreon subscriber at this level to get the videos. So I don't know, is this like a feed more, because it is very like I really don't like the Patreon video that's on there. That's what I'm confused about.
Wait, you said you just came the last couple of months, right?
Yes, but it's been there from when they launched, and I know that 100%. 100%.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember because I'm also a contributor to their channel because I like their Patreon feed. for the audio, but I know that they have a associated video. And at the beginning, they were doing unlisted videos on YouTube, and then they were putting it on Patreon. And what the problem was is people would give those unlisted videos out to other people that don't pay. So they were seeing higher numbers than they had only 100 people that were subscribed on Patreon. So when they put the video out, they were seeing like 200, 1,000 people that were viewing the YouTube video. And they're like, wait a minute, you're not paying for this. And then I think they went back and forth with YouTube to find out, are these analytics legit? And they said, yes, they are. So yeah. And if you have an unlisted video out there, anybody with the link can get it. Now, YouTube has also gone to private videos that you can give personal links out to as well. So there's that. And then there's membership videos now. But at the beginning, that's what the Delta Flyers was doing. And then I guess you're right. They changed to a Patreon video. So I don't know how they got that done.
Okay, because I was going to say maybe they retroactively changed it, because I knew they had video components. I knew that was there. And now I was wondering if maybe they retroactively edited the post, and that is what I'm seeing is a modern version. But like, because I know the post dates were there from the beginning. But yeah, it's been only a couple months, so I can't say for sure that this is an old video, but I'd have to go back and look. But it sounds like you know better than I do, and you said that they changed it along the way. So I'm not sure then. I don't know. Whatever.
And also Patreon, it said in their announcement that this has been out for a select number of their members for a while. So
there you go.
Delta Flyers, being probably on the higher end, has probably had access to this. So they might have started doing that a while back.
All right. By the way, I wanted to do a follow-up here because we got talking a little while back. I think it was even maybe last episode or the episode before about subscription pricing. And we had a lot of good chat in our Discord all about subscription pricing. And I have to say, I think you've more often than not been a fan of subscription pricing. However, I did need to throw you a little bit under the bus here, SP, because there was something that you once confessed that you would instantly pay a high amount of money.
Oh yeah.
If this thing was possible. And
oh yeah.
And it was all about AI. It was basically, you had told me that you were already budgeting for a replacement me, basically paying a certain amount of money that you didn't actually have to really podcast with me anymore or talk to me ever again.
I've been paying it for a while, really, so.
But I don't know if you know this, but when we had this conversation, I was actually still recording, and I went and I dug up the audio, and I actually have it here. Yeah, I have it here. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that it was a $500 fee was, I think, what you said you'd pay monthly in order to not have to talk to me. Yeah.
I think so. That sounds familiar.
Yeah. So I have it here for you.
$500 is a drop in the bucket compared to the therapy I have to have just by podcasting with you.
So there you go. I recorded it. I went and I found it on the raw recordings. I had to go hunting, and you didn't know I was recording. But yeah, I guess $500 was what you said you would pay in order to not have to podcast or talk to me anymore.
I actually am confused because I legit don't know if I said that or if you AI'd that.
I think that it was legit, because then we ended up actually having a bit of a conversation about Iron Fist. This was a long time ago. And you had some thoughts about Iron Fist as well.
Despite what all of you have heard me say for years, I actually really love the Netflix Iron Fist show.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I really wish it would have gotten another season.
And I also don't know if you know this, but after that conversation, we actually got talking a little bit about our podcast, and you thought that it needed something else in order to be better.
Do you know what this show really needs? More waffles? Don't you think so, Steven?
So that was your thoughts, was that we needed more waffles.
I would have said Damien. I mean, you picked the wrong person there.
Yeah. So anyways, that's what it is. Those were really 100% authentic clips by SP.
Waffles, I blame you, because your clips is what got Steven into this.
Yeah, it got me into it. As again, the reminder, the last clip was,
do you know what this show really needs? More waffles? Don't you think so, Steven?
So it was definitely me and not waffles. Definitely not waffles.
Good job, Chris, aka Waffles. I still think it's not entirely me.
Yeah,
It's not entirely my voice, but it's close enough, at least for now. And what's scary is it's just going to get better.
for those of you who aren't picking up what we're laying down, those were AI generated clips by the original Waffles. Thank you very much, Waffles from Play Comics. So he actually did those after our little back and forth. He did the one right away where I'd said the $500 thing in our Discord as a joke.
I think I
And
actually
then-
said that.
Well, if you did, that was, I don't know, but no. So I'd thrown that in our Discord, a little joke about SP wanting to pay money to not have to podcast with me anymore. And Waffles went and did that, and he gave me a few different options. And I actually thought the ones, like, I listened to them and I picked the ones that I thought were the most like you. But I agree. There's still something about it that's artificial about it. I've seen this on other voices, famous voices and whatnot, and there's also like a really, to me, it almost sounds like an over compressed aspect to a lot of these AI generated clips, but it's impressive. It's still like, it's amazing to me. And I actually remember when I first heard him, I responded to him, I forgot what I said, but something like, wow, that's creepy, but awesome.
I don't know what tool he was using to do that, but I know that the paid ones out there are a level above right now. So you can use paid ones that are extremely good right now. Now, I don't know what the pricing is on them right now because I haven't looked into this at all. I know a lot of people are having fun with it. I
do know what tool he's using. I don't know if I'm allowed to say though, so I'm not going to say.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's freeware, whatever he's doing, for freeware, it's amazing. The one thing that I will caution anybody that's listening to this is if you use somebody else's voice that you do not have permission, they can legally come after you right now for misuse of the voice and the persona and stuff like that. I know Joe Rogan has had issues where at first he was like, haha, but then he issued cease and desists out there. There's a whole podcast out there with some guy talking to faux Joe Rogan, and it was actually doing pretty well. So they got a cease and desist really quick on that. So I just want to caution people out there that you're thinking about doing this. It's just like the music rights. Be wary of the legal ramifications of what you're doing.
100%. 100%. Hey, I wanted to quickly talk about something else that I've been missing lately. And can I tell you what it is?
Yeah, go ahead, I guess.
I don't know why I ask you that. I just feel like it. I've been missing two big features about not using Vegas. Like, obviously, there's a lot of pros that I've talked about with DaVinci Resolve, primarily my sanity and being able to render reliably. However, when I'm editing, I really miss in Vegas Pro, you've got the ability to take a clip and drag it into a nearby clip in order to automatically do a crossfade. This is something that I don't even think Premiere Pro does. And so I really miss that feature. That's something that was, as far as I know, unique to Vegas. And I really like that because a lot of times, I'm cutting out audio, like a section of something, and I'm putting two clips, smacking them right together. And then I just want to add a little bit of a crossfade to help blend that audio, just make it a little bit smoother, whether it's a noise level or something else. And I really miss being able to just drag the one into the other. That is something that I do miss about it. And like I said, a lot of the other software doesn't even have that. So it is unique to Vegas. The other thing that I miss is if you have a short video clip, being able to dump it on your timeline. And actually, this is the same for audio, but I used it for video. And be able to just drag it as long as you want, and it will loop the thing. And this is big because there's a couple things that I've got, like with us, our Better Podcasting logo that has a little bit of a shimmer behind it, as well in GonnaGeek. There's the GonnaGeek logo with a little tower with the waves. I've just got, those are short clips. Those are like 10-second clips. Actually, sorry, they're a bit longer. One of them is a bit longer. I think the waves one is really short. The Better Podcasting logo is a bit longer. And I miss, if I had to put it somewhere, just being able to drag it as long as I wanted and it would loop automatically. Because that's how I've designed those clips, is to be able to loop. Instead, I have to copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. So I really miss those two things about it. If someone out there says DaVinci Resolve has those features, let me know. But I do miss those things.
Yeah, I wouldn't know that. I do know exactly what you're talking about. And I'll give you one example of mashing two clips together. It's when I'm doing an intricate cut with somebody that says it's multiple times or it's once and then resets and says it's again. One easy way to actually do that cut is to combine the S sounds, and Vegas, I don't know what it does on the audio side to make it blend so well, but you can actually smash those together. You know, you bring the audio clip in addition to the video clip that's with it. You can drag them all and then you can overlap them and it sounds like it's one word.
Yeah.
There's no differentiation between the two words at all. It makes editing such a breeze when you do little tricks like that. F sounds, th th sounds a little bit less, but F's and S's and anything that's like a long drawn out sound, you can mash them together and it makes editing so much easier. If you have a statement and then you have the same statement again later and you want to cut out the redux in between.
Jumping back to the AI talk, Waffles in our chat did say he's using Tortoise TTS running via Python on a local install.
Okay. For a lot of people out there, that was blah, 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 blah. But for those that are techie and like to do this sort of stuff, why don't you give that a try? Tortoise TTS, or get to Waffles and say, hey, look, buddy, I got a better instance for you to install.
All right. That's the sound of very seductive. I wanted to talk about Media Host too. Should we run down our little chat we've had with Media Host in the Discord, or do you want to talk about something else first?
No, let's do the Media Host issue. I've been having these discussions all over the place. So yeah, let's run it down.
So I started a thread in the Better Podcasting channel over on the Discord about Media Hosts, and I said, let's talk Media Hosts. It can be an open discussion, but some questions I have are ones like, what media host is your go-to and why? Have you migrated to a media host from another? If so, what was the driving reason for the change? If you were recommending a media host to a hobby podcaster, which would you suggest and why? And we've had a couple of responses, and the first one came from Damien. And Damien said, I don't know if you could say I have a quote go-to, end quote, as I have only had two media hosts so far, Podbean and Red Circle. Podbean was fine, and we used them for years. The main reason that we made the switch from Podbean to Red Circle was because Red Circle allows us to have multiple RSS feeds under the same account for the same cost. We wanted to split our show into two feeds as it became clear we will not be revisiting our other storyline anytime soon, if at all. We wanted to make things a little less confusing for a new listener so they'd only have the one main story in the feed. What's ironic about this is that even though I have made the second feed in Red Circle, it has never actually been finished or submitted to iTunes because Wave's hand in hobby podcaster. I do think I would recommend Red Circle to a new podcaster, though. One thing they have going for them is free accounts for single shows. Yeah, there are less, quote, nice to haves, end quote, in the free account, but it still allows unlimited episodes and downloads for the single show.
Yeah, Original Waffles piped in and he said, I'm on Pinecast, and since I can have multiple feeds there, I don't see myself leaving. Started on Blueberry, then moved to a network that hosted everything themselves somehow. You didn't know that, but now he's on Pinecast on his own. And then Josh Liston also said, I've been using Captivate for the last 3 years, and I've never been happier with a media host. All the basic tech is just as good or better than all of the other hosts I've used. Plus, the UI and UX is miles better than every other host I've used. Also, they're innovating at a much faster rate than the dinosaur-ish hosts, which means we get the best tech faster. Finally, and possibly most importantly, their support is incredible, and they don't air their dirty support laundry in public like some other support people do from other hosts, and put in quotey fingers support there, because that's what he had in there. Yes, I have a lot to say. Stephen, start, and I have a lot to say about all this.
First off, I'm just gonna say I think it's sad that that last part of Josh's comment has to be a thing, and it is a thing. It really is a thing, and I find it terrible. And I have to say, I've found it terrible for a long time, but I don't know why there was a certain level of like, okay, when it was like, yeah, these places, it's a small industry, and they kind of got these companies have some big names on them and whatever. But like, the industry's bigger now. There's a lot more media hosts out there. There's a lot other options out there, and it's like you might want to realize what your PR is doing, or what negative PR the negative impact is on your PR by doing those sort of things. And so like I think it was unacceptable way back when, really unacceptable now.
I get in podcasting circles or people that are in support for whatever service is servicing streamers / podcasters. I get that you might want to have a back channel to talk about all this stuff, to air grievances or best practices with dealing with all this stuff. But when you throw like, oh, this person did this, even if they redact the name of the podcaster or the publisher, the producer, or the show itself, even if they redact the whole thing, it makes you think, oh, maybe I can find this. And you start thinking about it, and it's like the old TV shows like 60 Minutes or 2020 when they had these exposés and they would put not they would do the lighting to try to hide the person,
Right.
sort of thing, but their voice wasn't obscured, so you're like, I know who that is. Or it was just poorly both was poorly. There was one instance that I was aware of personally, that the person that was interviewed, I believe it was 2020, they didn't fully obscure the individual's face. They darkened it, but you could still see features, first of all. And then second of all, the voice was very distinct. And you're like, it wasn't bad, but it was like, I can tell who this person is. And it was a very sensitive subject that I think that the producers of that 2020 segment should have been fired and brought up on charges, because it was a legal matter that they were exploiting the victim in this case. And I was like, I can't believe that you're doing this. So when you get to these support tickets and you start knowing a little bit about the industry, you can start to understand who they're trying to roast. And it's in bad taste. It's like, don't talk about what they did bad. Talk about best practices instead. Don't hammer the bad things people are doing. Elevate the good things that people are doing, and say, if you don't do it this way, bad things can happen along the way. But don't just call out somebody. That's poor. And it's multiple. It's not just one. It's multiple media hosts that their support people do this, and they do it out in the open, and they laugh about it. And it's really unprofessional. And I don't want to be associated with anybody that does that. That said, another thing that Josh came up with was the innovation speed.
Yeah.
And this gets back to what was it? The podcaster, what was it called? The group that was getting together that was looking at innovating the space. I forget what it was called, but they're moving at like a glacial pace. And I don't think any innovations like the next generation you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. We talked about them, but I don't remember the name.
I don't remember the name either. I'm sure somebody's yelling at their speakers right now saying, SB, it's this. But anyway, I know a bunch of them are wrapped up into this and saying, okay, let's all release the same innovation at the same time. So it's all out there for everybody. So people aren't jumping podcast hosts because, podcast host X or podcast service Y has the new thing, so I'm going to go to them versus my podcaster. They actually want to equalize everybody. I'm like, but that's not how the game is really played. The game is really played by those that do break pace and do innovate and do show good things. And those that are not innovating for whatever reason, and to be honest with you, I have no idea why they're not, it just looks bad on them. So yeah, I want to be on a host that wants to innovate and wants to embrace new technologies that are going to be sustainable. So there are some caveats in there, like sustainable. There's a lot of caveats with there, But I also don't want you to stagnate. I want you to move forward because this industry has been moving forward at such a fast pace. If you're not innovating the way that you are doing business, you're going to lose business in the end. So that's two things that I'll say for Josh at the end there that, yeah, completely agree with you.
Yeah, I do wish that the pricing was a little bit more in line with something that I'd be willing to try with the feature set on Captivate, because I've heard that about all the benefits that Josh is saying. But as a hobby podcaster that's not looking to make money on it, $17 US per month. I get it's unlimited podcast, but you've got that 30,000 download thing across all of them. I'm assuming it is. You know, the number is just, it's hard for me to price that to myself with that limitation when, you know, there's things like the Pinecast option as a hobby podcaster. But you know, it's not a bad price. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad price, but by any means. I do take pause at the 30,000 downloads per month only because I don't like that idea. I don't like the concept of capping the amount of downloads per month. That's not something that I personally agree with for a media host. I get why they're doing it, but I just think that it's this limit that I don't know that it's necessary. I don't.
You're capping it somewhere, somehow. There are those that cap the amount that you can upload. There are those that cap in terms of minutes. There's those that capped in terms of data. There's those that cap in terms of downloads or the total data or the total bandwidth used. There's always a cap because they can't give away everything for everyone and still stay in business. That said, I don't like capping the downloads. That's like the one thing they're saying, okay, well, if you want to make money, and some people do with podcasting, we don't, but if you want to make money or you want to reach the largest audience, we're going to hold you. And they'll point to statistics that say your show is never going to get to 30,000 a month. It's just not. So this is more than you need. Well, then why you even put the limit on there anyway?
And that's the kind of what I mean by I don't think it's necessary. Like, I think that there would be other ways to handle that. I think if you're looking at those shows that are going to do 30,000, I think you can have certain things that or do more than that. I think there's other ways you could probably entice them to pay a little bit more money. There's probably other features that could be offered, you know. I don't know, faster download speeds. I'd rather take slightly slower download speeds over faster download speeds for like with limitation. You know, maybe you'd have some form of other features that someone making that many downloads would be more enticed to pay for as an add-on. I don't know, the 30,000. I'm not a big fan of it. With that said, like, you know, like you said, it works for many people, and I've heard good things about Captivate. So,
I've heard a lot of great things. I've heard a lot of podcasters that have transitioned off of hosts that everybody was recommending 10 years ago to Captivate, specifically Captivate. So Captivate's been doing a good job. I know the people that started Captivate sold to, I believe Global was who they sold to. So it's not the original owners, but anymore, you'd be hard pressed to find a podcast company that hasn't sold off. I think one exception is Blueberry. I think Todd still owns everything that's Raw Media. I think that's the company that Blueberry is part of. I think everybody else either has gone public, has gotten new investors in, sold off, or moved ahead. Pinecast is another exception where the people are still there, which on the whole part of it, Matt over there at Pinecast, I host a show over there. I have an account over there. I'm grandfathered on the $5 a month plan. Full disclosure, I like just being able to dump something over there that I'm not really going to be hard charging over. I still question, because they're not embracing some of the standards like the statistics standards, still question where they're going to be 5 years from now, sort of thing. And it's easy to move. I know Matt's going to make it easy to move if they have to ever close down Pinecast, which there's been no announcement whatsoever. I think he's happy to keep it going for now. But if you do have to move, make sure that you can throw a 301 redirect so you don't lose your subscribers, basically. And hopefully he gives everybody like a month or two to do that. and move over.
But
if he
again, this is
ever
all
does.
theory. This is all theory.
Yeah, if he ever does.
And he's come
And
out.
that's
I
with-
think we should specify as well, given our history with him, that he has outright come and very clearly said, contrary to us bringing this up, and I think validly bringing up that, especially years ago when he was new, that he's got a monetization method that he says, is sustainable long term. That's what he has clearly said. But
and he's raised his prices, so it's not just the standard $5 a month plan. I would suspect that he's going to raise price. I suspect everybody's going to be raising prices pretty soon just to keep up with inflation. One thing that keeps coming up in discussions that I get involved in this is, does the media host do anything to promote my show? And when you're looking at it on the surface of the statement, I can categorically say no media host is going to promote your show to try to grow your show. That is your job as a podcaster. That said, they can strategically use podcasts as an examples out there or in their promotional items or highlight them on their websites. So you can get some promotion out of it, but you're competing with literally thousands and tens of thousands, and in some case, hundreds of thousands of other podcasts to get that highlight from those companies. So the odds of you getting anything out of that is one thing. Now, if they're making a lot of money off of you, like let's say back in the day, Joe Rogan was on Libsyn, right? And Libsyn is making money off of Joe Rogan at that time. Joe Rogan obviously is with Spotify now. Libsyn is going to promote Joe Rogan just because they're making money off of that. That's just an example of what they would do for somebody that's big. And when a big name or a big podcaster comes to a new network, you bet they're going to say, hey, we got this person, because that's notoriety, but you're also promoting at that same time. So I realize that there's a caveat to the promotion, but on the whole, they're not going to run commercials for you. They're not going to go out in and promote you to the big distribution hubs. They're not going to go put billboards out there of your podcast. Nobody's going to do that. That's on you and your network.
Also, I have two things to say. Number one, I was thinking about the $17 price. I think that's actually okay. I don't know why all of a sudden I was thinking of like the Podbean 9, and then Pinecast I think is 10 or whatever. But $17 is actually pretty reasonable. So I'll eat that. Like you said, the 30,000 for most people be okay. So I'll never say never on that. So I would like to at some point look more into Captivate, but for me as a hobby podcaster at the moment, I'm not sure. I still don't know that that's what I want to use, like what I would actually go to right now, but maybe. Second thing for the those watching the video, I don't know what's going on. Like, this shirt's really itchy. I'm like itching myself like crazy right now. I don't know if it was like washed with something weird, but people are probably noticing that, and I'm not sure. I just put it on just before we recorded, so I'm pointing that out awkwardly.
Okay. Another thing that I'll go back to the podcaster discussion is when you end your show, I hear a lot of, I want my show to still be available. What happens if I stop paying for my media host? Yeah, they're going to stop. They're going to delete your show because you're not paying for it anymore. It's plain and simple. And a lot of people are looking for a free place to put it. Now, if you just have the one show, you can go to Red Circle or Spotify for Podcasters. I think that's what Anchor's called. You can do that, but then you got to monitor what's going on there, because they could delete the show just because there's no throughput for that. I know Spotify does that quite a bit because they want to get rid of all those nasty shows that aren't actually producing anything or earning them money, so that they're fine just to delete them. So you have to watch out for that. I know that there's podcast hosts out there that will give you a reduced plan if you're not producing anymore. The like an archive plan, I've heard it say on a couple of the podcast media hosts. But if you don't have a plan like that, you're going to end up paying full amount continually as long as you want your podcast out there. So that's a consideration that nobody has until they're like, okay, I'm done with this. What do I do with this now? Sort of thing. It's an afterthought, and it shouldn't be an afterthought.
Actually, before we jump off of the hosting talk, I just want to say one other thing. Actually, go back to Pinecast there. which is on the weekend. There was actually coincidentally, and this is unrelated to all the talk. I happened to make this post. We happened to have a bit of conversation about it, and then all of a sudden there was an issue that happened with Pinecast where I had noticed all of a sudden that the RSS feeds were not being generated properly. They were there, but they had no content in them. And this was on Saturday, and I checked because this show's on Pinecast. The Better Podcasting Chats with SP is on Pinecast, and both of the Pinecast RS feeds were a little bit broken, or a lot broken. And I ended up submitting a ticket to them at 11:21 a.m. Pacific time, and I had a response back by 12:59 p.m. And they said, "Hi there, a software update that went out today caused some feeds to generate without episodes. We've since rolled back the update while we investigate the underlying cause. We sincerely apologize for the interruption." So they were really quick to get on that, and that was great because now I have to say this show was not technically affected because of how we do the RSS feed, but the actual Pinecast RSS feed was indeed affected, and I'm glad this was Saturday. I don't know where Matt's located, but this was at least midday Pacific time, probably evening or early morning, wherever Matt is, maybe. I don't know. I just assume everybody doesn't live in the Pacific time. And yet prompt response like that. So that was great.
Yeah, it's good to see. Hey, first of all, we're innovating, right? We are continuing to move forward. And second of all, oh, it didn't work. We're going to roll it back, and we're going to get you back online. Reliability for podcast media hosts hasn't really been discussed all that much in the last few years because there hasn't been too many issues out there. But that is one of the issues that I would look into. Like if you have a podcast media host that's noted to go down, you don't want that. You want all of your episodes that you have published to be available all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year globally. And as soon as we get somebody on the moon or Mars, you want it available to them as well all the time. You don't know what time people are listening to your show, and you just want it available for them. Or if they're going to go on a flight, hey, I want to download the latest 3 episodes of X podcast like 5 minutes before they board the flight, and they're not available and you can't get to them. That's an issue. And you could lose the listeners over that. Like, okay, I'm not going to listen to these 3 podcasts. I'm going to listen to these 3 episodes over here on this different show. And then they just never go back to listen to your episodes. So stuff like that can happen.
You know, I have to say, we talked about this when we talked about media hosts and everything recently on one of the Better Podcasting episodes, but there is a show that I would like to maybe switch the media host on. That, you know, there's a show that I know of that you know has a bit of history on it, and I don't know the destinations thing, how I would handle that, where it's all been submitted by the media host, and I just don't know. I don't know how that would be handled since it's all in there. What would the actual process be like to reclaim those submissions? And that scares me.
You put a 301 redirect in every one. Basically, that's one way.
But
or another way is changing the RSS feed that was submitted.
But that doesn't give me the ownership of, like, let's say the Spotify one, like the actual the actual Spotify listing on Spotify for the show.
Like Anchor in its earlier day, we'll just use this as an example. Like Anchor in its earlier days said, yeah, we'll submit everything for you. And it was all submitted to the like podcast@anchor.com email. So you had no way to send an email to what they had on record because it would go to Anchor and it wouldn't go to you, for example.
Yeah. Or it could be that, you know, I don't know that it's still this way, but I know with the GonnaGeek show, there was I think it was Spotify. I think it was Spotify. Originally, we were able to get Better Podcasting on Spotify sooner than the GonnaGeek show because Libsyn, you were able to go in and submit it through there, but there was no way outside of Libsyn or an approved media host. And then they came up with Spotify for podcasters, or whatever they called it, podcast portal, whatever it was. And then at that point, I was able to manually do that. So now I log into the Spotify podcaster portal, and there's my show there. But if I had submitted that through, let's say, like the Better Podcasting Libsyn one, let's use that as an example. How do I get that? Like if I'm now disconnecting from them, or, you know, if it was I think Blueberry was one of them too. If I was with Blueberry, how do I get that control of whatever Spotify has?
Yeah, I'll use Legends of Shield for example. It's on Pandora, and the only reason it's on Pandora is because it was submitted through Libsyn to Pandora to get on there. I have no relationship with Pandora. The Legends of Shield is available on Pandora because of that relationship that Libsyn had with Pandora. I have no idea if I switch media hosts if I could even keep my show on Pandora because of that. So there's an example right there.
And so these are the questions that I have, and so I don't know. It scares me. It scares me, SP.
Yeah, I mean, you just start from the ground. I mean, maybe you end up resubmitting it. I don't know. But I am interested in seeing some other things. Full disclosure, I've used to date 4 media hosts for podcasting. I've used Libsyn, I've used Spreaker, I've used Podbean, and I've used Pinecast. Those are the 4 that
you also had Blueberry. I mean, wait.
No, never had Blueberry, and I'm never going to have Blueberry. But those are 4 that I've had, and I've peeked behind the curtain on Captivate, and I've had other offers, but I have, I think out of the ones that I've used and looking at everything, I'd be leaning towards Podbean right now, but I'm not set on that. I'm okay with exploring other options right now, but I'd be going to Podbean, I think.
Well, I guess we'll just have to wait till you get Blueberry so that you can give us your experience on that.
All right. Hey, there's a couple other things, just quick hits that I want to talk about is that StreamYard seems to be looking towards a more enhanced partnership with podcasting because they brought Rob Greenlee on board as a partner, not as an employee. And he has a significant amount of podcasting since before podcasting was there. Do I think Rob Greenlee is going to be with StreamYard long? No, because of his work history. It's been cycling through multiple different companies. He'll spend up to a couple of years. I think his last was Podbean, and he was only with them for a couple of months. But he's been with a lot of other ones out there. So look for more StreamYard podcasting stuff in the future. And then Streamlabs.
Well, hold on before we get to your next comment. I don't know that I take it the same way that you do. Yes, he has podcast hosting experience, but I maintain that Spreaker was more streaming than it was podcasting.
Yeah, and that's what StreamYard is, but he has specifically said in his statement on this announcement that because he was in a podcast announcing this with, I think, one of StreamYard's like head partners or something like that, like 100 something. I forget what the podcast was, but he said that he was specifically bringing both streaming, video, and podcasting into the realm. So yes, he is more of a broadcasting / streaming guy, but he specifically said podcasting. So I don't know if this is StreamYard. Well, I have no idea, but I would venture to say that he's going to at least put podcasting in their ears of this is an industry that you should be paying attention to.
Plus, I can finally use StreamYard on my Zune.
And then the other one quick hit is Streamlabs, which is a beloved company for Steven and anybody else that uses a Streamlabs tool. Is they put out an editor. Now I have not used it, but it is a textual based or words based editor, not a waveform based editor. And there's AI in there. There's all sorts of tools to automatically get clips out there for multi-platform promotion, stuff like that. It's not free, right? It is for 40 hours a month. It is basically $20 a month or $150 a year. And that is US pricing. That is not Canadian pricing.
I must make sure that I'm clear. I do not use Streamlabs and I never have. So other than downloading, I think they had a version of OBS that I tried at one point and was not that impressed with.
Okay, fair enough.
So Chris was our Streamlabs guy on the GonnaGeek show. That's who it was. But point stands though with everything else. So
yeah, it's another. I mean, at this point, I would view them as a Descript competitor in that, but it's a hefty price. And if you're going to paying for an editor anyway, this might be something that interests you. If you don't want to get into the actual editing, if you don't want to get into the chroma key stuff from the visual side, if you don't want to get into the audio, I want to put this effect in this plugin in this track or whatever, then this might be for you. I have yet to see one of these textual editors that will do multi-track individual editing. They do multi-track combined editing, but they don't do multi-track individual editing.
Well, that's going to go ahead and take us towards the end of the show. Before we go, I have a task for you, and you know who you are. It's all of you, the listeners, plus Josh. Convince me that I should at least put a show on Captivate. I want that to happen because I've heard such good things, but I don't know. That limit, I don't know why that keeps... Maybe it's non-justified keeping me away, but I want you to convince me that I should at least try that. I don't know why.
That was not directed. That was not directed at me. So you know who you are, and yeah, go for it. He has given you open access so that you can convince him, and I'd be okay with that. I'd be fine trying Captivate out, but I agree with you. That whole limit on the downloads thing is like, I don't know if I want to do that.
But again, I've heard such good things. That's why I'm saying, convince me, Josh and everybody else. Convince me. Tell me. Find a way. And actually, following up to the StreamYard thing, Liberty Dude said, heard, don't know myself, some podcasters using StreamYard ask for super chat type donations through StreamYard instead of YouTube 3% takeout versus 30. So I'm guessing
it's pretty pricey.
Yeah, so there you go. Maybe you could save a little bit of money by doing that. Maybe we should do that, SP. A super chat. Just a super chat.
I hate that. Oh, yeah, you have to stop what you're doing and say, "Oh, thanks, Bubba. I really appreciate the $2 you just gave me." And then you start off with your sentence again, and then I don't know, Jenna comes on and gives you $5. You have to stop. Oh, thank you very much, Jenna, for your donation. Really appreciate it.
It's more than that. Jenna, super chat.
Some of them do have bells that do it too. Yeah.
So thanks to everybody for checking out the show. We were all over the place tonight. I recognize that. We were back, forth, up, down, and thank you for listening. Come on over to our Discord server at betterpodcasting.com/Discord. We'd love to have you there. If you can check us out during our live stream, you can. It's Wednesdays, usually at 4:15 p.m. Pacific, 7:15 p.m. Eastern at www.geeks.live. Gonna leave that in. And also, we are going to have a couple weeks off throughout the summer here and there, but the Better Podcasting live chat is here through the summer until September comes around.
Yeah, we will be back here next week, and then I think our time off starts at that point in time. So yeah, really appreciate you guys coming by. Really appreciate the chat. We're still working on ways to get the chat in. We're still working on ways to bring you in if you want to ask us a question face to face, that sort of thing. So we're looking forward to that. No idea if it'll happen this season or not. Don't know if it'll happen this year or not, but we are looking at ways to do that.
So for episode number 51 of Better Podcasting Live Chats, I'm Steven saying, one day I will stop making that mistake.
I'm SP saying don't worry about it. You might not have to worry about it. So let's just go from there. Have everybody a great week. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out another episode of Better Podcasting. You can find the full back catalog of Better Podcasting at betterpodcasting.com. If you're into geeky podcasts, please check out the other podcasts on the GonnaGeek Network at GonnaGeekNetwork.com. This show was produced and edited by Stephen Jondrew. Voice work was done by L.W. Salinas. Thanks again for listening or watching, and we hope to see you again next week.